KETK News. You're watching East Texas Live.
Welcome on back to East Texas Live on KETK. Joining us now is the author and host of Fireside Talk Radio. Good Monday morning to you, Kathy. Thank you for joining us.
Listen, Sarah, I am so excited to be here. You're so kind to invite me.
Oh, of course. Now, there's a lot to talk about today. First off, I want to talk about the past year that we've had. It's been a hectic year, starting off 2021 and even going back to 2020. There's a lot. Why do you think our culture today is so argumentative?
That is a great question, and I think one thing that happens is people don't have the skill sets they need to have great conversations, and so that's just hurting people. They have all this passion, they want to express it, they want to persuade people to agree with them, and they're failing because they don't have the communication tools they need.
Now, I see you brought some of your books here with us today. Talk to me about some of the stuff that you've written. What's your favorite?
Okay, well, I love both these books, and I know it only has my name on it, but I was telling your editor before I came in here, I love editors because they help you so much get to be great, produce a much better book.
Yeah.
Both of these, well, this one I wrote, Marriage Conversations for My Children. I wanted them to have great marriages, so I put down a whole bunch of ideas. And in fact, if you try some of these ideas this week, next week your marriage will be better, I guarantee it. And this one I wrote because of an experience we've all had, where I was standing and trying to talk to this community leader one day, and I looked up at him and thought, he is not listening to me. What can I say to reach this gentleman? And instead, I went home and I just plopped open my Bible and I started looking for ways that Jesus communicated. And Jesus was the best communicator, probably in the history of the world. So I found 40 different ways that he took the woman at the well from lonely to leadership. And they're all in this book, and they work. Not because I wrote them, but because Jesus was just that effective.
Yeah. Well, it looks like such a helpful tool for us. Learning how to communicate, that is something that is so important. What do you think is the best piece of advice that people can take away from the stuff that you've written?
Boy, there's so many great chapters in here. I have two favorites off the top of my head. One is how to turn an argument back into a conversation. I wrote a whole chapter on that, and if you apply those principles, you will have less arguments in your home, your church, your community. You'll be more influential. Then the other one I really love is advice from my mother. She was such a woman of integrity, and she lived her own personal etiquette in the most beautiful way. So I just want to tell you a quick story. Mom could hold out her hands long before anybody ever said anything about drinking and driving. My dad could have a drink at a bar or a restaurant. We would get in the car, Mother would hold out her hands, and my dad would put those keys in her hand without argument. And that's because he knew she wasn't going to get in the car unless he did. She was that persuasive without a word, but she knew what she stood for. And so I think we're just living in a time, Sarah, when we have to know what we stand for and be prepared to take that stand in a quiet, gentle, but firm way. To me, that's very persuasive.
Amen. That's such an excellent piece of advice. Thank you so much for coming on this show. It is a pleasure, and these look like such wonderful books full of just valuable information, Kathy.
Thank you, Sarah. I love being here. I want to know, I didn't get to ask you ahead of time, if people want to share the link for your show, how can they do that?
Yes, just go on KETK.com. They'll be able to share it on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all of those apps, and we'll have that for you.
Well, I hope people do that, because I think what we're trying to do is change the conversation in our culture.
Certainly. All right.